Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. And as always, I have Dr. Ramkumar with me again. We were here about 6 months ago and we talked about Vaidyagrama, and I'm back here and I see a lot of changes. We're going to talk about that and also the vision that Dr. Ramkumar has for Vaidyagrama, and also the need for well-being after COVID. If somebody goes through COVID, the after effects of that, how does one cope with it, and so on and so forth. It's a fairly rigorous look at what we need in our lives now. It's a little bit more complicated than what it was before. So I don't bore you with more data. Let's welcome the guest of the day, Dr. Ramkumar. Dr. Ramkumar, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel. So Dr. Ramkumar, we are sitting in front of a temple, and we are actually surrounded by foliage here. You may see a little bit of this. I'm behind Dr. Ramkumar are bamboo trees, and they make a lot of they grow their own produce. I'm not sure how many of the herbs they get from here, but they get a lot of that stuff. So Dr. Ramkumar, first of all, I'm very impressed with your growth, sir. Talk to us a little bit about how quickly you're growing. I mean, as I was coming up here, I saw a lot more buildings coming up. Talk to us a little bit about the progress or the growth of Vaidyagrama in a post-COVID phase.
Thank you. We have actually been working quietly and slowly in this community, this 𝙒𝙗𝙬𝙤 Panchayat community. And as you are aware, COVID set us back a little bit in terms of people being unable to travel, and like all institutions, all organizations,
Right.
there was a 2-year slowdown. But even during that period, what we managed to do is to work on improving the cultivation in our space, wherein from getting 100 to 150 kilos of vegetables every day, we upped it to around 700 kilos of vegetables in the last several months.
Wow.
And we have also moved into cultivation of paddy. So hopefully, by God's grace, all going well, we'll have our first harvest of paddy next month. And if that goes well, then we are looking at growing our own rice in Vaidyagrama on a regular basis. So apart from the construction and other growth, what has happened is, our efforts to be more self-sustainable has taken an impetus in this COVID time and post-COVID time. Further, patients have started coming in again from all over India and trickling in from other parts of the world. People are coming in for management of various issues, including post-COVID complications, long COVID, whatever you may call it. People are definitely looking to Ayurveda and other traditional medical knowledge systems to manage a lot of their health needs in a slightly better way, or in a much better way, whichever way we want to talk about it. But using the principles of Ayurveda, having good diet, lifestyle, herbs, pranayama, asana practice, meditation, minimal stress, keeping the mind free as much as possible. People are recognizing the value of a better quality of life to stay healthy, and also the need for the mind to be very strong. I think one of the biggest challenges that we have faced in the COVID times was fear. There was so much of fear and panic, and in Ayurveda, the texts very clearly tell us where there is fear and panic, the health issues only get aggravated. Whereas if the mind remains calm, if we are able to, deal with a situation thinking about the solution rather than getting vexed by the problem, the solution will actually come more easily and more effectively. So I think people globally, everybody is becoming more conscious, more aware, looking at a better quality of life and taking care of themselves in a better way. And at Vaidyagrama, we are seeing this in terms of the kind of people who are coming in, the needs that they have. It is reflecting in the people who have been coming in over the past several months.
One of the things that I must mention, I think I may have mentioned before. Viewers, I have told you this before. Vaidyagrama is a truly Atmanirbhar story. So they have a Gaushala. The goats give gobar, gomutra, so they make their own, what do you call that thing?
Panchagavya.
Jivamrutam.
Yes.
Jivamrutam. And panchagavya is the process of Ayurvedic thing. So they make their own Jivamrutam, which is what our Vedic texts have said about fertilizers. So even the paddy that they're growing or the fruits that they're growing, they use their own fertilizers. And I have told you this before, in viewers, in one of my hangouts with somebody from Vaidyagrama, and they talked about how this is an ecosystem that is slowly growing and spreading outside. And we have also talked about midday schemes and things like that. Dr. Ramkumar, you are truly creating a difference, not just to this area, but you're also reaching out to villages where many families have, the younger ones have gone to cities for a livelihood. The older parents are, they are like, they don't have much to do. The land is not exactly arable. If you think of it, viewers, to my left, approximately, is the Western Ghats. On this side is Western Ghats. And the monsoon comes and hits these Ghats and flows back into the Arabian Sea. So the other side of this is Kerala. So this side, not much comes. It's like Kosuru. Just a little bit comes here and there. And you don't get a lot of this. This side is completely semi-arid. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to be innovative in trying to make use of the land resources. And Dr. Ramkumar, about COVID, people get COVID, they get cured in 4 days, 7 days, sometimes long COVID also. But I'm hearing more and more stories that it comes back to haunt you after 6 months, sometimes even after 2 years. And if you have this kind of stuff where suddenly somebody feels weak, overall I've heard this across the board. Anybody who suffers from COVID seems to feel very weak for a long time. Now, in Ayurveda, you are of course treating them for what they have, but how do you fortify them for the next onslaught? Because people are talking about the next one coming in 2024.
Well, I think those who have followed the Ayurveda principles of diet, lifestyle, daily routines, seasonal routines, etc., while they may still fall sick, may have still been impacted by COVID, have not felt the more serious effects of COVID or the long COVID or the exhaustion from COVID as compared to those who have not been following it. If you ask me for numbers, I may not be able to give that, but our experience in this area and with the many who have had COVID and whom we have worked with, none of them have had serious long-term implications in couple of years. And the recovery has been much quicker and no real side effects have been seen. So we strongly recommend that, again, going, being as vegetarian as possible, leading a healthy lifestyle, good sleep, good rest. All of this is important. The simple parts of life, back to the basics. If we do that, a lot of these issues will naturally get resolved. Most probably we will not be impacted by it. Even if impacted, it is not going to have a major effect on us.
You have given me two questions to ask you. The first one is the easy one. How is COVID resistance better when you are a vegetarian or predominantly a vegetarian? Is this something about the food itself? How did you correlate that, sir?
In Ayurveda, all problems start in the stomach.
I see.
And in Ayurveda, another clear theory is, if you are strong, whatever comes into you will not impact you. It's a very simple theory that we work with. So we are not, while we do acknowledge and accept external sources of contamination and infection, we say that if the body has a strong system, is resilient, has got bal or bala or strength, then whatever comes into us from the external will leave us without much effect or impact. This is a simple theory. And that theory boils down to the idea that if we have a strong digestive system, a strong Agni, and the metabolism is working well, then the resilience will be much higher. Now, for that, what you eat has to digest. And typically, today, the problems that we face are due to either too much of eating, or eating at the wrong time, or eating in the wrong quantities. These are the primary issues we face, and a lot of the food we eat is very heavy and difficult to digest, thereby weakening the Agni over a period of time, leading to poor metabolism and lowering our resistance or resilience. So this is why we connect everything to the stomach. Any disease, it is not just COVID, any health issue, an Ayurveda Vaidya would primarily connect to the fire or Agni in the body and the mind. The two play a huge role in the disease causation process.
Wonderful, sir. And the next question, there's prediction that in 2024, the next pandemic is going to hit the world. I mean, we are still not quite out of this one. At least we are able to breathe easy right now. They are saying that the next one is going to hit in 2024, and that after that, 75% of the world will go vegetarian. Perhaps it's going to be an animal-borne pandemic. I don't know. I'm just echoing what I saw on the social media. But overall, most of us, not all, but most of us are used to eating meat. Now, if something like this were to happen in 2024, people are saying, look, don't eat this meat, don't eat this meat, don't eat this meat, something like that. I'm just painting a scenario here. So for someone who's used to eating this, you can't just turn off the tap. I'm not a meat eater, but I can understand if my favorite dish is pulled away from me and said, you shall not eat it anymore. So how does one transition food habits?
Well, I think industry can make anybody change habits overnight through spreading fear, through propaganda, through any kind of. So if it is used for a good purpose, why not? But other than that, if people can start to go inwards, watch their digestion, watch their elimination, recognize what they digest, what they don't digest, recognize when they feel heavy or light within hours after a meal. There are so many factors that we can observe within ourselves and come to a conclusion on what is working and what is not working for us. If each of us start taking the responsibility of looking after ourselves a little more seriously, based on the inputs that come from within rather than from internet information or Professor Google or others, I think people will start going in the right direction a little more easily. When you're listening to yourself, when you're listening to others, you are functioning based on third-hand information, which may or may not work. But when you listen to yourself, it should definitely work because you are constantly in touch with yourself. So I think in post-COVID, people are certainly more in touch with themselves, watching what they eat, watching what they drink, recognizing the need to eat warm food, hot food, drink warm water, eat early. There are so many things that have been spoken for decades and centuries, which were temporarily discarded by most of us in the last few decades. But in COVID times and post-COVID, a lot of us have come back to it. So I'm optimistic that the global population will be more prepared for the next pandemic, and will by then already be eating well, sleeping well, eliminating well, resting well, thinking well, minimal stress, and hence, as a cumulative effect, have a better resilience to combat any such pandemic.
Wonderful, sir. I didn't tell you this. I could have told this at the beginning of this conversation. Somebody was in your field, healthcare, was talking about the top 5 Ayurveda healthcare centers in India, and yours figures in that.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I can see why. I mean, viewers, I have to tell you this. You have to come and experience this yourself. If you're having an intractable problem, like for example, your knee hurts when it rains, or muscular problem that never quite went away, there are lots of things like that Ayurveda can solve, and it's much more, what I'll say is a much more complete in terms of its solution than what I have seen. I've lived a fair amount of life, so I can say with some authority. Dr. Ramkumar, more power to you, sir, and thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you.